Hey everyone, welcome back to the Your Money Your Life podcast, episode 223 of the podcast. Remember, we do this every week, and every week we tell you to like, subscribe, 5-star rate, and review this podcast. And also share with your family and friends. Watch on YouTube if you want to see what we're doing as far as sharing my screen and going through different things, topics. Please make sure to do so. Let's jump right into it. So we have first and foremost a look at what's going on. Big fresh data came out on the consumer. So the stock futures are pretty much flat. There was new economic data pretty much saying that there was actually less weekly jobless claims came in the highest level. So the jobless claims for insurance came in at its highest level since August. So these are fresh data showing that like jobless claims, people without jobs that are claiming um, help, insurance claims are jumping. And this is, also coming off the back of new quarterly earnings from Warner Bros., from ARM, from Airbnb. So we have a mix of things here. So you're seeing the jobless claims, you're also seeing earnings from different companies. So um, let's see a little bit into how that is making the chart trade as far as the opening prior to the market. Yeah, it's roughly flat. It's roughly flat. And over the past 5 days, again, we've had a rebound a little bit over the past 5 days, and we're about a little bit over 2.5% in the past week. And the month is flat. And year to date, we're climbing back up towards that 10% mark on the year to date since the beginning of the year. We're almost halfway through the year. We're in quarter two. So again, we said it won't be a crazy double-digit gainer this year. It'd be a roughly positive, anywhere between 0 to 10% was my estimation, and that's tracking so far. We'll see how the rest of the year goes. There's so much more to go in this year, but that's some of the data we're seeing. And I want to jump in some of the earnings. Roblox specifically, the shares dropped nearly 30% as the company cuts annual bookings forecast on muted player spending. If you don't remember Roblox, it's a video game platform where you can make games, play other people's games, community. It's a lot for kids. The age demographic is anywhere in that preteen to teenager level, maybe early young 20s, early 20s. But they cut their annual forecast at their earnings Thursday. They're saying that people were dialing back on spending within their video game platform. It's pretty much because people don't have as much dollars to spend. Um, EA, Electronic Arts, who's a game publisher, also gave weak revenue forecasts. So Roblox now expects full year bookings, meaning they're spending in-game spending to 4 billion to between 4 billion and 4.1 billion, down from its earlier forecast of 4.14 and 4.28. And of course, Roblox is supposed to be a growth company. So this is pretty dire, showing that 30% drop in the stock. Investors fled the stock because they're like, all right, growth is slowing in Roblox. That's not good. But this is an interesting company. I think you're going to see more gaming and more playing on games. I don't know if this is overdone with this 30% drop. And they're saying that they're gonna add a lot more gamers. The number of hours gamers aged 13 or more spent on Roblox platform grew by 19% in the first quarter. That's the lowest growth rate for the company in about 2 years. So again, they're showing signs of slowing down when it's supposed to be a growth company. Um, they said they're gonna add a lot of older gamers who take a while to get settled and spend more time on the platform. So he's saying our demographic is going to shift to older gamers who are living their life, doing different things, and they're going to take a little bit more time to spend to really get situated with our platform and spend a lot of more time and eventually, hopefully, money on the platform. They've also done digital ads, so they have ads within these different games, and they're looking to monetize advertisement. And so this is interesting. I'm actually really quite interested in this company and what they're doing and how they're strategizing to grow. Because I think it's a trend that I believe in going forward. Gaming, pet care, tech, these are trends that I believe in going forward. And so to see what this company is doing is going to be really, really interesting to me. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. So the NFL, National Football League, is looking to weigh partial private equity ownership. So you understand private equity is pools of capital of wealthy individuals, private funds that use to buy things, whether it's buildings, businesses, medium-sized business, small-sized business. There's different fund types for different objectives. Tech companies, like they do this for a lot of stuff. But one thing you don't get to see is private equity ownership in the NFL. All the NFL team owners are private business owners. They're people that either their family or themselves, they started a business and grew it, and they had enough capital where they were able to buy an NFL team. NFL does not currently allow private equity ownership based on their current collective bargaining agreement, but that may change. Private equity funds to become the next big player could become the next big player in NFL franchises. Bloomberg is reporting. There's a new proposed rule that owner can sell up to 30% of a team to buyout firms or private equity firms, a stake held by any one firm capped at 10%. These percentages could change per the sources. The plans under consideration by a special NFL committee are due to be discussed in a 3-day league meeting in Nashville starting May 20th. So the significance of private equity coming in is it changes the dynamics, right? Like private equity is less about like the team and like this is, some big thing that my grandfather used to own and we love this city and this place. They're just like, well, how do we make more money off of this stake that we purchased? And how do we flip it for our investors so we all make a lot of money? Right. And so that's why they limited it. The NBA has actually allowed a small percentage into that. I don't know if the NHL and the MLB have, but the NBA has allowed small percentage of capped percentage of private equity ownership now. And now you're seeing the NFL weigh it because it just gives more liquidity options for the owners. It's hard to be able to sell teams to like another individual that just has enough money to buy it. And if you have pooled capital opportunities, it gives a little more liquidity and options for exits and different things. So valuations are getting expensive too. Like you're talking about billions of dollars for these teams, right? These are billions of dollars. Not again, there's 2,000, roughly a little bit over 2,000 billionaires in the world. There's not that many pools of people that could buy a team. So these are things that we're going to keep our eye on. I'm actually really, really quite interested in that story and what they do going forward. By perspective, it makes sense. It's probably going to have to happen at some point, and it allows liquidity, allows more options for owners. I think it makes sense. They'll probably have a percentage where they allow private equity to be capped at to buy into teams in the NFL. Corporate profits are booming. This is our news story. Are profits shielding the economy? Corporate profits are booming, and they may well be protecting the U.S. from a fall, the Wall Street Journal reported. So job growth has slowed in April. Last month, earnings per share for companies in the S&P 500 are up more than 5%. Why would you think that is? It makes sense to me, right? Like revenue is falling, you cut jobs enough so that your earnings stay the same. You cut expenses enough so that your earnings stay the same. The strongest growth in almost 2 years. So yeah, the strong corporate earnings because they've done a lot of cost cutting because they saw that the growth slowed down, the top line was slowing, so they wanted to cut costs. They did that a lot, especially in tech sector, a lot of different areas, and now they're still showing profits. That's what the company's there to do. It's still profits for shareholders. So I'd say a little bit of that. I'd say a little bit of it's a partially the profits. I think profits are holding up, but I think people are just betting on Fed and the aid of the economy and the government. Like they're betting on the government to come in and start to lower rates. And that's what I think investors are trading on pretty much all of it. And betting on the consumer show cracks at some point. So I think that profits are helping in a bit, but it's not the main focus of investors in my mind. The main focus of investors is on the consumer and the Fed versus what profits are doing in the companies right now. Apple iPad ad riles creative. Say that 10 times fast. Apple iPad ad riles creative. So apparently there's a new iPad coming out. Tim Cook posted an ad for its new iPad Pro. His message was that it's the thinnest product we've ever created. But many viewers saw a dark metaphor in the image of an industrial press crushing symbols of human creativity in musical instruments, audio and video gear, art supplies. So pretty much in this video, the big bad Apple um, is crushing these old creative inventions of the past and saying that it's all wrapped up in the iPad now, I'm assuming, because I haven't even seen the ad. So it says it's tone deaf. People are saying it's tone deaf. It shows it paints all these different things being crushed and compressed into this thin iPad, saying that we put all of this stuff on the outside that's creative, these music stuff, all stuff that you used to use into the thinnest iPad ever. Yeah, it's on iPad. Like those that are watching on YouTube, you can see a little bit of the visuals of the video here, and you can see it, and that compressor is coming down and crushing all that creativity and inventions of the past. The big bad tech just coming in and crushing this using innovation. Oh man. Oh no. TV boom. Oh, camera goes by. Look at that. And what comes out, ladies and gentlemen, the thinnest iPad ever. That's crazy. I can see how it's tone deaf for creators. Like it's not Apple. Like they're not usually the people that's the big bag monster tech company. They like to stay away into there for the people. So you see it. It's the mask is starting to slip off, folks. Technology, everything is just going to really take over. It's already has. If you're not long tech in this generation, you're just not thinking straight. Speaking of not thinking straight, rents are keeping inflation high. Slow to change rents are likely to be the last obstacle to bring down inflation. Remember, inflation data encompasses a basket of consumer goods, which rents, groceries, eating out, eating in, insurance, all different things part of this basket of consumer goods. And so rents and mortgages are in there as well. And it's showing that in the US that the housing costs are staying up. The change in the cost of rent is expected to rise 1.5 percent points to 9.7 this year. Those expectations and the demand for higher wages, a feed could frustrate hopes for the Federal Reserve to soon lower borrowing costs. So, of course, the Fed is going to look at these prices, and you have a good graph here. From the start of 2024, average home prices are up less than a percent. Average rent prices are up 1.07. Average used car prices are pretty much flat. Gas prices are up almost 10%. So again, these inflation data are important because it's the Fed using the CPI calculation, consumer price index, to calculate where they think inflation trends are going and how they should move as it pertains to our rates and our policies going forward. So, yeah, a lot of things are inflated right now. It's just until the consumer cracks, you won't see things go down. People can pay for them. People are going to charge it. People are going to charge it if they think people will pay. And so that's the chicken and the egg problem we have right now. So Google CEO Sundar, won't pronounce the last name, says AI is the company's top priority. He's looking to overtake OpenAI and the maker of ChatGPT. Google made some moves and has been cheered recently for their AI shift and their grab in the market. And right now, he was at Google's I/O Developers Conference, and he told Bloomberg that Google's in the early stages, is the earliest possible stages with AI, suggesting the company has time and talent to win. And that's what I agree with that as well. So they're all in on AI. It's clear a lot of companies are, and the winner of this battle is really going to be able to win some of the next frontier of what's going to be happening when it comes to tech. Um, so we'll keep our eye closely on that one. More news. So Reddit, as we know, IPO'd recently. The shares jumped on when they reported surging users and revenue as they reported their first quarterly earnings since going public in March. Daily users grew 30% annually to a record 83 million. It's interesting. Reddit's pitch deck to advertisers is a bit different than that of its social media peers. So people pretty much say that Reddit is allowing people to say, stop sitting on the sidelines and waiting to IPO. If you're a company that's ready, that's grown in the private markets for a while, and you're ready to offer this shares to the public, go ahead. Because the IPO market, M&A market, a lot of that stuff is non-existent ever since 2021. That was the biggest year for those things. Gone. 2022, non-existent. 2023, non-existent. 2024 so far, also non-existent. It's kind of crazy to see. Um, the roles most likely to add AI to the resume to stay relevant: content writer, graphic designer, marketing manager, front end developer, entrepreneur, product designer, operations manager, web developer. Okay, so they're saying these are the roles that are most likely to add, if you're a person looking for a job, to add AI certification or add AI proficient to your resume to be stay relevant, because these are the roles that I guess AI would target the most. Um, interesting. Interesting, very, very interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. Any other news today? There doesn't seem to be much. Well, I thought this was interesting. Equinox is rolling out a 3K a month longevity membership as health span takes focus. So Equinox created personalized programs for members, optimize, which costs 3K a month for minimum 6 months, including perks like personal training, biomarker testing, sleep coaching, and nutrition planning. Um, so because Equinox Gym fee isn't included in the optimized package total, they could play a 40K a year. So again, this is a high end, higher their consumer thing where they would, want to be totally fixated on their health and pay 3K a month for this pretty much all in health related wellness, like which is quite interesting. I wonder how they, again, this is targeted at a high earning consumer. I think this would work for a lot of people because they're just right now, if you think about wellness and health, it's like one of the biggest areas that people are focused on, especially people that are high earners, because it just allows for you to live a good life by lengthening that life because you're already living a good life. So it's quite interesting. I think there's a market for this. The Equinox is already a high end gym, and so we'll see. I think it's going to first roll out in New York City, of course, and Highland Park, Texas. Okay, that's interesting. I trying the two ends of the spectrums of the market, New York City and Highland Park, Texas. So that's going to be interesting. We'll watch how that rolls out. I'm really quite interested in that. Roundtable, folks, we haven't done one for a while. I'm actually interested in what people are doing. But one thing I've seen is an understanding, the interest in service small business and how to start one, right? Whether it's trades or landscaping, whether it's selling a service, coaching, a business coaching service, any sort of stuff. How do you actually do it? There's not much great stuff online. I was looking to find stuff online about how people say you should, but I think a lot of this stuff people like do it when it comes to researching it. You have to find the best source for your information and then really dive into what they say. So do the best source for your information, then really look at what they say. But this person on Jobber said you should first decide what you want to do, and that's interesting. I think any services, if you're proficient at it, if you're smart at it, if you have a passion for it, you could do a service type business. And you don't have to be, right? Like it could be plumbing or nuts and bolts or something that's like not someone who's normally not passionate about it, but they know that they have a market where they could sell it to people. So that would be one that you would look at. Next, they say write a business plan. I'm off on that. I don't think that's necessarily needed. What you have to understand is how to either sell or market to a demographic. And that's like not something you need to write in a business plan. You need to test things out. You need to test out different ways to sell. People are big on these business plan things, but if you see someone iterating over a business plan a million times, they're just never going to start a business. It's just a time waster when you should be doing actionable things. Get trades certified. That's a big thing. All these different things you have to get certified in, right? Like even the new agency, we're certified in different leagues, NBA, FIBA, all these different things. WNBA. I'm a certified WNBA agent, right? Like you see the WNBA take off. So you got to get that. It usually is a cost thing and maybe a time thing to take a test to get certified. Usually not difficult stuff, but definitely stuff you'll have to do. Pricing your services, yeah, that's an important one. I think you'll probably see what other competition is doing, and maybe you need to adjust off of that. But you definitely want to price it correctly and understand how it scales based on your price, right? That's a huge thing. I like that. I like that. Business financing if needed. I think some businesses don't need financing, or you could save enough to be able to start it on your own. Some may, like depending on what they are. There's government funding, there's business loans, there's credit cards, there's grants. But you definitely want to look into that. And you may or may not need funding. Some people overshoot what they need. I'm a big lean guy when it comes to like starting and using funds to start stuff. It usually doesn't cost too much to start it. People just are overzealous in that regard. But also some people are underzealous. They want to like do something really huge and big and grand, but they want to spend like $5,000. Like you're not gonna, in normal cases, start a huge business that's gonna make you hundreds of millions of dollars and only spend $5,000. It's just not usually the case. You have to be willing to understand how to be flexible in that regard. Choose and register a business name. That's easy. You don't want to ideate all day on this stuff. The people that do that again are just like wasting time and not wanting to jump into things. Business structure, yeah. Again, that's also easy. Business licenses, yes, you'll see what your competition is doing and what you need to do based on reading. Sometimes you need insurance. Yeah, yep. And market your services, that's the big one. How are you selling this to your demographic that you want to sell it to? I think that's huge, 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 huge. And learning how to do that is probably the biggest reason way people grow a business. Super, super important to know how to do and to be really to be the best at, to try to be the best at. And then growing it is important. Retention, recurring earnings is something that not a lot of people have when it comes to small businesses, but some of us do. So Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I love reading on this. I love ideating on it and hearing more about it. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you're someone out there that started a small business, how you are navigating it. It's a small community of people that are doing their thing. So we want to make sure we stay connected. But of course, as you know, that was your Money Life podcast for this week. Please tune in next week. Share this with family and friends, and we'll talk